We are back here with Front Office Do Fridays, here with a special guest, also here with my co-host Ryan. Ryan, how's everything going today?
Yeah, all is good here, Victor. Excited for the podcast again here today. Someone we've been connected with for a couple years, obviously crushing it in the world of hockey as well. So it should be a lot of fun to get into the conversation today.
Absolutely excited to have you on here. And with that being said, we're here with Kyle Wayman, Director of Talent, Acquisition, and Employee Experience for the St. Louis Blues. Definitely butchered that, but Kyle, how's everything going and how's the role treating you?
Victor Ryan, what's up? I'm happy to be here. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to do this. Yeah, things are good here in St. Louis. It's the off season, which for a lot of people, we get asked all the question, "What do you do in the off season?" And it's like we're still busy. We get time to recharge a little bit, but now we're gearing up for next year. And in this role here, we're gearing up as roles start getting posted, whether it be internships, full-time jobs. We have a lot of those that happen in the off season as we kind of a race to the home opener and the season getting started here sometime in October here. So.
Yeah, and I know we were kind of talking about just the signings the Blues have been making as well, which is also something pretty exciting for you, and obviously on the hiring side too, where like the seasons, during the off season you do a lot more planning than you think, even when it comes to hiring and hiring the right people, right? That's what it comes down to. You don't want to hire someone who's going to be there maybe for a couple months and it's like, it's not really for me. You want to make sure you're investing in the right people, and obviously having been in ticket sales on your side, like you're well aware of like what you're looking for as well. And I'm just kind of guess curious right away, like what kind of made you move from ticket sales to that position with the Blues, having been there for such a long time.
Yeah, I've been with the organization 13 years now. The first 11 were spent in ticket sales. So, definitely not I guess the normal transition from, sales to people, what we brand our HR as is people and culture here. But, it was one I really liked my sales role. I enjoyed what I was doing. It was my background with everything I'd done with the Rays, the Cardinals, and now the Blues and getting into management. But our chief people officer came to me with like, "Hey, we got this role. Want to kind of talk about it?" And was pretty much like, "Hey, I feel like your skill set kind of looks into aligns to what we're doing, or what we're looking for." And had a couple conversations. It wasn't something I was immediately like, "Hey, I want to do this. I'm jumping on board. I'm all in." And kind of had some conversations and talked to a lot of people, both friends, mentors, family, as I kind of thought through this, and in the end, it made a lot of sense. So, in the role now of talent acquisition and employee experience, like I'm getting to work with every department and pretty much every person in the organization, which is pretty cool. And having have a part in every role that's hired, and also too, like I've learned so much about every role, every department, because if we're hiring whatever role in whatever department, like I need to understand the role, I need to understand the department where I have such a better understanding of what people do. And a lot of times it's a whole new appreciation of a role, a job, anything like that. So that's been really cool to have and develop relationships that I probably wouldn't have had. While ticket sales touches a lot of departments, like these are ones I'm directly either having meetings with or one-on-ones as we try to hire the right people. And then the experience side, I was doing some of that in my ticket side, but being able to bring that over and really kind of bring it into a job, as you will. Like, we touched on, you don't want to hire someone that's only going to be here 3, 5 months or whatever, but like we want the job to be a fun place to work. Working in sports and entertainment is it's supposed to be fun. It's supposed to be exciting and different, but like it's still a job sometimes. So what are things that we can do that help? So some of those things, it's food trucks, it's different lunches, it's different tickets to different events, it's different theme days that where it's like, hey, we're last week for 4th of July, it was Red, White, and Blues Day. So, wear red, white, and blues and get entered to win a prize. Or we had ice cream trucks and all kinds of just little things trying to do things and really bring the staff together. It's a cliche, but really want it to feel like a family here. That you spend so much time at work, and especially in sports and entertainment, like from games, events, like you spend a lot of time here. So trying to make it a really fun place to work and get to work with people that you really enjoy with. So definitely, an unusual transition. I'm happy to help the ticket sales staff whenever I can if they have a question. I don't want to step on anyone's toes there now because it's been 2 years I've been removed, but I feel like a lot of the skills and relationships I've built have really transitioned into this role well. And as I kind of learn, and as I came into this role and working with the new team I'm in now in our people and culture department, I came in as like I don't know everything. I'm definitely coming in as an outsider. Like I'm going to rely on you on some different things and let's get together and let's be dangerous. Let's see what we can do, and let's have some fun along the way too.
I like let's be dangerous. I think that's probably my thing that I took away from that the most because I think when you go in a different department, you always try to think, oh, I know everything. And the fact that for you, you're like, hey, realistically, like I might know a lot of things, but there's a lot of departments that you don't even talk to when you were in ticket sales, right? Where like ticket sales marketing, like there's your typical ones, but there's a lot of other ones where it's like social media, these other ones that you might not even know. I mean, at least for myself, like posting each day on social media, that's just not something I would enjoy. And so the fact that you get to learn on, what does that look like? What do you want, someone coming in to look, for, and also going to the piece of like your culture. Like I think a lot of people, especially myself, we always think, oh, we hop into an organization and the culture is gonna be incredible. Like it really depends who is in charge, like yourself and others on that people and culture side, where you can actually give employees an opportunity to actually feel like they're belonging there. And similar to players and athletes, right? There's players that move on because they're like they don't feel like they're represented. And as you can tell, like, there's players that move from the Blues to another team and so on. And so it really depends on obviously the way you drive. And the fact that you've been away on the ticket sales side for 2 years is pretty incredible, because I'd still look at you as one of the higher ups for questions like that. So I'm
It is
curious.
wild, but like to your point there, like having a leadership team, an ownership team, and upper management that what values, doing things for the staff. Like it's not just a job where you come and work and go home. Like we want this to feel like really a place that you enjoy coming to work. So having ones that we can do things that may be different, might be outside the box, and like, hey, we're going to try some things, and sometimes we're going to fail, and that's okay too on different things. And we're big on feedback and surveys. So like if we send something out and it just misses the mark, people don't enjoy it, like let us know so we don't do it again. Like we only have so much resources budget. We want to stretch it as far as we can. But like if we do something it's just not what people want, we want to know that so we don't do it again. And then it's really I'm lucky to be surrounded with great people from our generalist to our benefits manager, everybody else that has so good at what they're doing. And able to learn so many things from them. But like I said, as you kind of touched on, like I don't know everything. It's moving from a role where I felt like I knew a lot because I had done the previous roles to get to where I was in ticket sales. So in here, just learning, and teaching them sometimes too about other positions and how the sales department works and how some different things too, where maybe they didn't recognize. But to your point, like when I was hiring a payroll manager, like I had to learn ins and out of what payroll looked like, because you needed a very specific skill set and experience. Or like when we hired carpenters, that's part of it as role, union carpenters. It's like, well, I had to ask them, like, what do you ask somebody? Like, what's your favorite type of tool? Like, what's, favorite type of wood? Like, I need my basement finished. Can you come give me a sample? Like, what are the, and it was like, no, you need to ask these questions and have they done these things, these qualifications. So like having those conversations, which is really, I think, going to help me grow, as I learn more about how the company works.
I think having conversations is very important. I think a lot of us tend to just think when we get in a position where it's like, oh, I'll just have conversations over the phone on the ticket sales side, right? But you have to have conversations with other departments, because that's how you grow. That's how you have opportunities in different areas, right? Like you're, someone coming up to you saying, hey, Kyle, I think this could be a cool opportunity. I'm not going to throw anything towards you, but listen to like what this is about and tell me what, similar to what you do to when it comes to different positions of like understanding, does this look good for you? And it's funny you say that, because in group sales and ticket sales, that same thing, right? Like, does this work for you? If it doesn't, let's find a solution. Let's find a way to obviously get you out to a game at whatever that
Yeah.
capacity is. And, when it comes to questions, one of the questions that always people have is for college. So you went to St. Charles Community College, and then you also went to the University of Missouri, Columbia.
Yep.
What came down to those decisions of going there? Just because when we're in high school, at least for myself, I went to a community college because I had no clue what I wanted to do. But like, what kind of alternately made that decision for you, where you're like, all right, this is the place where I can be, Kyle, and find success?
Yeah, no, that one for me was pretty easy. Like I played baseball in college or in high school and into college, and I got a scholarship to play baseball at the community college. It was pretty close to my house. And, for me in baseball and for a lot of people, like as an underclassman, like if I went to a four-year school, you're potentially, you're sitting your first year or second year. I wanted to play. You only have so many opportunities to play. I unfortunately got injured my freshman year of college, three knee surgeries and a shoulder surgery, kind of puts a damper on that, but bounced back. I ended up so it was the right decision. I was close to home, especially with getting injured then too, as I was recovering and rehab and all these things. I was close to home and all that stuff worked out fine. Ended up going to University of Missouri and I played club baseball there. So again, at University of Missouri, it's the biggest university in the state here in Missouri. So knew a lot of people there, and even like even picking up, halfway through people's college experiences, like I was able to kind of put the pieces together there. And, it ended up being the right fit. It was an hour and a half from home. Like I knew people there, like, and ended up playing baseball and making some of my closest friends there. Two of my groomsmen were people I played club baseball with for, even if it was for just, a year or two. Ended up getting a spot in towards the end of my time there was like essentially coaching and helping manage the team and helping with tryouts and stuff like that. So it's all these little things you don't realize in your life that end up impacting you and having you the skill set and the experiences to, get to a leadership and management role where it's time it's just like I'm doing it because I love baseball and I want to coach baseball or whatever it is. So that ended up being the right decision. If looking back on it now, like when I graduated high school in 2006, 20 years ago, that's a while now. But it's like sports business, sports management was still such a new thing, and like and honestly probably didn't even know enough about it or aware of it other than just seeing it where like I probably would go that path now if I was graduating today. Like there's a lot of great programs and I work with a lot of ones. Maryville University here in St. Louis has a great program. I work with them on a lot of different things. But one of those, so I took the degree in communication, not knowing I knew I wanted to work in sports, but didn't know what it looked and felt like or even how to do it. And I kept wanting to keep my degree broad so like I could take it so many different places and sports ended up being the right fit. Um, from there, I mean, I knew I wanted to work in sports once I graduated, and then I sent I applied a lot of places, like a lot of people do. I reached out to a lot of people, and I finally ended up getting a call with Travis Apple, who was with the Pirates at the time, and who was the one that took the time, the only person that reached out to me and kind of responded. We had a call, and really opened my eyes to ticket sales. That it was like, hey, this is something that I can do. I would be a natural fit in, and all these things, which I didn't think about at the time. Like sales for me was, extended warranty on your car, knocking on your door during dinner time, and all these things where it was just like, hey, like this was like talking about the games, events, and seats and the experience, like all things that came comfortable. So then I was like all in on getting into ticket sales. And also too, as you may have talked on here before too, is also, ticket sales in a sense is a numbers game. There's more if there's an inside sales job, there's normally more than one posted. So like, take your odds there. And I fell in love with ticket sales. Like it was so much fun. It was so much talking to people. I loved talking to people. I loved helping them. You touched on group sales or finding the right fit. Like it was fun. And then like doing that on the B2C side and moving to B2B and helping a business grow. Like here's our goals. Here's what we want to do. Here's how we want to entertain our staffs. Like it was a blast kind of putting those pieces together. So long-winded answer to where I went to college, but sorry about that.
No, that's awesome. We like the longer answers.
Yeah.
The more time you talk, Kyle, the better that our listeners like it. Because Brian and I can talk a lot, but we don't have as much, information as well as just your journey in general is incredible. And the fact that you kind of looked at it like strategically, where it's like, all right, ideally I could go a 4 year, but I could burn 2 years off, and then I'm just like, all right, now I'm already year three. And as you know, as an athlete in baseball, like you only get so many chances to do it, and so you want to make sure you're going to set yourself apart there. And the fact that you're able to do that now with all the surgeries and stuff, I imagine that by yourself was like, holy cow, like if I can do this, I can tackle anything. So sales in that case is no problem. But I think also something that you brought up that was very important too. It's like you're now on the HR side, right? Where you were the one reaching out to people like, hey, like what should I essentially be doing now? And Travis Apple, obviously now a huge icon in the sports industry. Everywhere you
Yeah.
look, he's obviously a role model for many and for people who listen to podcasts as well. So I'd be curious because this is probably a question that you ask, or obviously your other people who hire ask, is like, what's something that sets you apart from others versus like, say you're going in an interview where they're like, hey, Kyle, it's between you and this other guy. Why would we hire you versus him who has a maybe more experience or we think's a better fit?
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where I try to, like you said, I get people asking all the time, and I try to help because I've had so many people help me. So like, I try everyone that reaches out to do what I can to set up a call with them. I mean, like we said, we talked 5, 6 years ago, whatever it was. Like I really try to give back, and I encourage anyone in the sports industry to try to do that. At least, I'm not going to pretend I have all the answers, but like I will at least have the conversation, and maybe I open your eyes to it. Maybe I talk about ticket sales, and you're like, this sounds terrible. This is not what I want to do. Or maybe it's like, hey, this is what the path wants to be. So credit to, anybody that's doing those kind of things. It goes a long way, and I don't think it goes unnoticed and potentially could help somebody for their career. But like for me, if I'm giving advice right now on like, hey, how to stand out, how to do these things is a couple things. One is you're gonna I'll use the Blues for example. We post a job, we get a lot of people apply. That's not a shocker. Like any sports team, the logo, the brand out there gets a lot of people applying. A lot of great applicants, a lot of people that have great education, went to an awesome school, great grades, great internships, all these things. It's tough. Like there's a lot of great candidates out there. How do you separate yourself? To your question there. If you know that you want to be in ticket sales, well, I'm just going to use this as an example. Show that you want to be in ticket sales. Tell me that, hey, I've read these books. I've listened to these podcasts every day. I've watched these webinars. I've learned from this guy. I've learned from this salesperson, this team, whatever. Show that you've done the little things that aren't going to show up on your resume because, again, so many of the resumes have such great qualities and characteristics. Show me what you're doing on your own time that not just, hey, I just want a job because it's the Blues or whatever team. I want a job because I want this as my career, my passion. I want to sell sponsorship tickets, whatever it is, and taking those steps there. Because again, I see a lot of great resumes, a lot of great resumes. I talk to a lot of great candidates, but a lot of times we can only hire one person, or a limited number of people. So I think people that show that it's a passion for it and not just, hey, I want to come work for the Blues. That's awesome. So do a lot of people. What are you going to do? What are you going to provide? Like, I've been a Blues fan my whole life. Awesome. Like again, what are you doing? What are you going to help do to drive the business forward? What are you going to do to help us drive revenue? What do you help us to this? Ultimately, what are you going to do to help us win the Stanley Cup? Are you helping us sell more tickets? Are you helping us do all these other little things that go along the way there? So, and make a positive impact in the community and all the other things that are important to us as an organization. So, um, yeah, so that's the one thing. The other one too, a lot of that I'm seeing right now, and I'm just going to keep going, Josh, of things that I'm seeing right now, if that works for you, Victor. So, um, AI is a newish one. There's a lot. I think we're still learning. If we have this call in another 5 years from now, the answer now could look completely different than it does now. But AI is obviously an awesome tool for, looking over a cover letter, a resume, anything like that. So, utilize the tool. But you can tell if something's all written AI. It reads like a robot. So like it's a difference versus writing it for you versus checking it or proofreading it or something along those lines. So a couple of things. One, if it asks for a cover letter, put a cover letter. Like don't let that be the reason you don't get the interview or that's the reason you ruled out because you didn't take the time to fill out all of the questions, all of the recommendations they do. So again, if it's a cover letter, put a cover letter. If you're putting a cover letter and you mention a team or a city or whatever, make sure you have the right team, right city, the right job. Because I know there's templates out there and everything. That's great, but take the time to read that it's the right job. The other thing that I'm seeing a lot of is your answers in AI. So if it's like, hey, describe your experience in whatever, or why you're the right fit. I've seen this. I won't say what job or anything for it or give too details, but it's like describe your experience using X, not Twitter X, but example blank. This thing here. The answer that was on the applications that was we read was based off scanning your resume, your experience, sum up your experience using this process. This is how I would answer the question. So that means it was put into some type of AI, got the answer, copied it in there, and copied it word for word. So those are examples of just things that aren't doing that. But again, it's going to sound crazy, but like this is happening. I see this happening. I see a lot of jobs. I see a lot. So these things are happening. The biggest thing, and I think to your question, Victor, to start, is like, how do you stand out? You want to stand out in a positive way, and it's so easy to stand out in a negative way. So avoiding those little, I'll call them missteps or missed opportunities are so easy to avoid. So again, filling out the full application, putting the cover letter, and then sending thank yous. Thank yous, there are people that you'll get ruled out if you don't send a thank you. Now, old school is sending a card in the mail, could you do that? Sure. But sometimes it's a quick turnaround time. Sometimes it's, hey, you interviewed, we got to let you know in a couple days and turn around. So an email I think is fine in that scenario. But those are some of the trends, if you will, that I'm seeing a lot right now. And then the other thing, part two, the other one I always tell people is like, job pops up on Teamwork Online, you see it, post it. You don't have to be the first person to apply 3 minutes after we post the job, because that means you haven't even read the job. You haven't tailored your resume, your cover letter to it. You don't get a prize for being the first person to apply. We probably won't even look at it for a day, couple over a weekend or something like that. So, but we see a lot of people jobs posted 2, 3 minutes in, we've got applicants in. So, taking the time to read it to make sure that it is, because one of the questions I like to ask on an interview is, what stood out to you about the job description? And I can tell if you've read it or not, or at least understood what you're even applying for. And then just like what you're getting into. So hopefully that helps.
Yeah, I love hearing that from you on that, Kyle. I think those are all really timely things that all of us can relate to as we go through applications and we start to explore some of our own usage of AI, and definitely good tips that you mentioned as well about talking about, why you're passionate about it, what books you've read, what podcasts you've listened, what conferences you've gone to. I think those are all really practical skills that our listeners can take in whatever area of sports that they kind of get into. And as we kind of dive into some of your sports experiences as well, we'll kind of go back to when you were an intern, in early in your career as well. And I know one of the first internships you were able to have was in baseball with the Tampa Bay Rays as a sales and service intern. And would love for you to be able to share kind of first about how you were able to kind of get that experience, what your interview process was like, and some ways in which you felt like you set yourself apart in order to attain that internship with the Tampa Bay Rays.
Yeah, 2011 with the Rays. That was a fun time. If only young Kyle there knew what he knew now. But it was fun. It was one of the most awesome things that ever could have happened to me. And as far as my career wise, it's probably the best thing that's ever happened to me as far as that. Like it opened my eyes, opened the doors to pretty much everything that happened after that. But I applied online a lot of places, kind of we touched on earlier. And shout out Teamwork Online. I applied there for the Raise ticket sales and service job. And I applied, did the application thing like that. And I called the front office after that and was like, hey, how do I get in touch with somebody that, who oversees the interns, all those kind of things, and end up leaving a voicemail for somebody. And then next thing I knew, I had an email trying to set up a time to talk. So I didn't know a single person in Florida. I'd been to Tampa for baseball, club baseball at Mizzou. I went there the two spring breaks, so I like was familiar enough with where we stayed. I mean, but we didn't even go to a Rays game or anything like that. But like, I wanted to work in baseball. I wanted to work in sports so bad. So, um, yeah. So I had the interview process. The first one went great. Like, I went into it and I had done my research on the Rays just as far as what they'd been up to. Like the baseball side was easy because like I was a fan. They had just they had just come off a playoff appearance in 2010. They went to the World Series in 2008. So like all these things were like, you talk about the trades and all those things. That was all easy for me. I really tried to dive in what they'd been doing in the community, whether it'd been done giveaways or tickets or trends or anything else that I could find, just to sound like I had, like we talked about earlier, done my homework. There was, as far as I know, I wasn't as, reading as much as like the Sports Business Journal and things like that back at that point in my career. But like tried to do that and tried to really sound, and also trying to tailor the experiences I had that would translate into a role like that where you're dealing with people. So one of the examples I give is like, think about if you got a job in high school, maybe because your parents made you or whatever, and you're working at, a fast food place or whatever, and it's like just a summer job or whatever, but like you're dealing with customers, you're dealing with problems, you're having to think on your feet. While it might just seem like whatever job, it's going to give you the skill set that you need for these different things. So I had experiences dealing with people, I was coaching some baseball, I was doing some this and that, but like I'd experienced talking to people, like I was customer facing. So being able to say like, hey, I could come in and talk to clients, customers, front office people, whatever, that I felt comfortable. So in the interview process, so I did that phone call. I had another phone call. And the next thing I knew, they offered me a job and I was starting there in like 2 weeks. I remember they offered me the job and I was like, I'm in. They're like, well, why don't you think it over, talk with, I was like, I'm in. They're like, well, we're going to call you tomorrow and then you give us your answer then. And I knew I was in. Credit to my parents. Like they were fully supportive of like trying to help. I remember driving down with my dad, and, helping me find a place to live and everything like that. So I couldn't have done it without them, but just giving that opportunity and just, yeah, it's awesome. I love talking about the Rays. I love, everything about them, and their internship program was so good. It set the standard for how I think an internship program should run, and a lot of things that I'm trying to, still do in this role here. I do a lot with the interns, trying to bring a lot of the ideas and things that they did there, because I never felt like I was just an intern there. I felt like I was a member of the front office team. And then for anybody that's a big baseball fan, in 2011, the Rays were uh, had a terrible start, a crazy run in September. Evan Longoria hits a home run in game 162 and sends it in the playoffs. Like it's unbelievable. Like one of the coolest days in baseball history and moments. And like I was there and a part of it. So like that to me is It's pretty cool. It's pretty special. I try to go back whenever I can. I'm excited. I'm actually super excited. My son, he's 2.5. We're taking him to the Trop for the first time here in August. So like I'm really pretty pumped for to take him there and kind of see what it is. So but yeah, that was kind of long story about getting into my internship with the race.
Yeah, I think that's awesome to hear about all that. And yeah, now you mentioned that that was that year. All I can think about is that massive collapse that the Boston Red Sox had that year to help the Rays get in there. So sorry if any listener is a Boston Red Sox fan right now, and we had to bring up some bad memories. But hey, it was good for Kyle and the Rays that year. So we love to see it. And you kind of touched on the company culture aspect of things and how it kind of set the standard for what you like in an internship program. And I want to kind of dive into that a little bit more because obviously it's relevant to what you're trying to create in terms of a culture now, in a different sport in a different part of the country with the Blues. But what were some of those things about that culture with the Rays that you kind of can remember and think back upon that still left a lasting impact on you?
Yeah, a little bit what I touched on was like I just never felt like an intern. I just felt like, hey, this was my job. It was, titles, whatever aside, but like, hey, this person does this job, this person does this job. We're all working towards the same goal. We're all on the same team, which I thought was really cool. They did a really good job of getting the other interns together. As I mentioned, I didn't know a single other person in Florida. All my friends I made or anyone I talked to was somebody I worked with. So they did a really good job of getting us together, whether it be lunches or, sometimes they would do a speaker series where it would be like, hey, we're going to get together with X department. You're going to learn from the VP. Some of those things, it's like, I tried to take them as seriously as I could, but other interns, probably didn't value it. It was just like, hey, this is what I want to do. This is, one of the interns I worked with, like he was awesome. He's one of my still friends, but like he got into working for the Raisins. Like this just isn't what I want to do. I don't want to work in sports. I'd rather be in the parking lot drinking beers with my buddies and come and enjoy the game. Which I get it, but like we had an epiphany. We were sitting out in the outfield after we got done working, watching the game, and he's telling me all these things. And then Johnny Damon hits a home run right over his head, and he's deep in thought and didn't even realize it. So, um, but I think they did a really good job filling in there. They also credit too, like my family came and visited a couple times while I was there. Always took care of them with tickets and like cool experiences. They had like the play ball kid that says play ball before. I think my brother got to do that and stuff like that. So they did a really cool job with that. Like again, like I have nothing but awesome things to say about those guys. And then like, I was still work and everything like that. And I know I did some of the grunt work, but like it was like they made it fun, lasting relationships with so many people there that I'm still friends with. The other part that's kind of cool too is like there were so many people that left the Rays and went other places. So my network just grew so quickly. Like somebody left and went to another baseball team, a football team. And it's like, well, now I know somebody at all these different places and learn from them. But for me, I really tried to take the most of it. Like I knew I had an X amount of time there, so let's set up meetings, let's shadow people, let's ask what I can sit on. One of the things I'd read before there was one of the things is how to get noticed, and it was if you can not, in a spot where you would normally send an email, could you just go to someone's office or desk and talk to them so they get to know you, put the face to the name and stuff like that. So I really tried to do that. I really tried to network with people with other departments. I tried to get to know as many people as I could. Try to meet people that get to know who I am because even just when I would tell people I'm from St. Louis or I went to Missouri or whatever, there'd be someone like, oh, I went there. I know somebody. Just try to build a small connection that way. The other thing that I think really helped me out that not everyone has this opportunity is like, as I mentioned, I didn't know anybody else. I could always stay late. I could always come in early. I could always work on a weekend. I didn't have other plans or other things like where other interns that were local might have had, something else going on. Like I was always available, always made that because that was, hey, I've got this. It ended up being from March to October. I've got this limited window. I want to do everything I can. And ultimately, it helped because people at the Rays knew people at the Cardinals, which led to me helping get an interview with the Cardinals, which ended up being my next role. So,
Yeah, absolutely. And I love hearing about that because even you mentioning a little detail about how your brother got to be the play ball kid, it's like those sometimes are the little things that you still think back upon years later. That it's kind of funny that you worked in sales for so long and you're creating these experiences. But even when you were an intern yourself, you think back upon those little moments that, help make that even internship a little bit more special. And I love hitting on these because I think for so many of us, I know myself and Victor included, and obviously with what you've shared, Kyle, Like we think back to those internships and you've worked 13 years with the Blues and we can talk forever about a 1 year internship, and those are some of the more impactful experiences you can have. And you mentioned some of the people that you got to work alongside that have continued to work in the sports industry and you've kept in touch with. So I think we touch on that a lot on this podcast about getting to know your coworkers and the people you're around, or even if you're a student, the people in your classroom in your sport management classes or whatever it is. Those are oftentimes a great way to grow your network when you're not even thinking about a scary interaction with a CEO that you have a call set up for or something like that. So loved hearing that. And earlier on the podcast, Kyle, you mentioned that moving to your role now on the employee experience side, you don't know everything and you had some humility. But to give yourself some credit, you do have a lot of experience on the sales side, so there are some things that you know there. So I want to kind of hit on some of those. You mentioned that your next stop after the Rays was with the Cardinals and that you worked 11 years in ticket sales with the Blues. And kind of the area I'd like to dive into is kind of the area of overcoming objections. I know that's something that everybody faces when they work in sales. You get told no a lot. It's hard to always keep that same positive energy and keep that consistent after you just got rejected 12 times earlier in the day. But in your kind of variety of experiences in that role specifically, and even as a manager, what are some tips and things that you've learned along the way that have helped you kind of push through some of those times in which you're having to deal with objections that you need to overcome?
Yeah, no, and that's an awesome question because it is one that challenges people on that one, and that's what makes sales hard and also rewarding at the same time. That anybody that's done it before, those calls when you get that yes or whatever. And I apologize if anyone has mentioned any of these other ones too, but it's controlling what you can control. Like I knew I could come in with a positive attitude, be the kind of person who wants to be around. You mentioned if you had 12 bad calls in a row, it could sometimes be 100 bad calls in a row. You just never know, just or if the team's not performing the way people expected. So controlling what you can control, knowing that I had a job to do, but also sometimes just stepping back and it's like I get to work for a sports team. Like there's so many other things I would rather not be doing. So like kind of appreciating where you are. And I think that's one of those things as you get older. And like for me, when I became a dad, your perspective thing just changed so much. It's just like I'm enjoying where I'm at. I'm enjoying the experiences and the people I get to come to work with. So just being able to take a step back every now and then, just like what I'm calling people on tickets. We're not saving lives. We're not doing things here. Like it's going to be all right. One of the things is obviously so not trying to take it personally. So somebody's mad, their favorite trade, like very rarely are they mad at you as a person. I'm sure it happens, but like for the most part, it's something else that's out of their control. Um, so like letting them know, and also that a no now might not be a no later. Like you might have just caught them at the bad time. Like, it just caught them when it was a bad day or whatever it was. I've got a voicemail saved. It's a guy who was leaving me a voicemail calling me back. He gets in a car accident while he's leaving me the voicemail, and he just says a bad word, one bad word, and then hangs up the phone on my voicemail. So he calls me back and apologizes later. But like that wouldn't have been a good time to talk to that guy. So it's a voicemail I'll have saved forever. And the guy was awesome about it later, but like I don't blame him. He got hit by a car. So well, he didn't get his car got hit. Still bad. Anyways, um, so not letting that and trying to enjoy the little wins along the way. So whether it be competitions or whatever among the people around you, like it's the people around you that makes a sales job good because like it is hard. It is a lot of calls. It is a lot of no's. It is like we touched on earlier, the off season. The off season's a lot of time, but like if you're not doing the work now to sell deposits, season tickets, whatever it is, like you'll never hit your sales goal. So like it just never ends. The competitiveness helps. A lot of our sales reps and a lot of people I've hired background. It doesn't have to be hockey background. I mentioned mine's in baseball, but a little bit of competitive edge too. The other thing I'll encourage people, and this is something I notice more and more as my career, is being able to celebrate other people's successes and not just focused on your own. Because if we're all working together, Victor makes a big sale, Ryan makes a big sale, I come over and say, hey, great job. What'd you do? Who'd you call? But now maybe I'm motivated now to make even a bigger sale. But knowing that Victor and Ryan have to sell their tickets to help hit our overall goal too. So knowing like the overall good of everything, being a good teammate in that sense too, just being able to bounce ideas off of people. I believe that an open collaborative sales group is the best one where you can hear people on the phone. I remember my first call I made with the Rays, and all I was doing was telling people the game time changed by like 2 hours. And I got on the phone and I am shaking. They already bought tickets. Like they're not going to return them. Like, and it was just like changing it. Like the game changed from 3 to 6 o'clock or something like that. And like I am just terrified. Like people are going to hear me on the phone and all these things. And like you get over it. You get over it, and like it's not a big deal. And it's just like to the point where like I can talk to anybody on the phone. I can call them. I'm not those kind of things. So like that part of it. And then just trusting, if you're having a cold spell, a bad call, whatever, being able to take a break. Is it going to get, glass of water, cup of coffee, taking a lap around the building, being able to find out what distresses you and trying to figure out, hey, how do I focus and regroup? Because it's going to make that next sale even more rewarding. But again, just really, control your control. Don't take it personally, and just always try to leave it in a spot where, like, hey, like if you don't know now, that's cool. Like if it's not the right fit, just let me know. Here's my information. Keep me in mind. The other part too, and I think this is one of the ones, when you talk about sales, referrals is obviously the name of the game with sales, and that's most people think of referrals as like, hey, I just bought something. Who else do you know? Who on your network? You can also turn a no into a referral as well, where, hey, like, I understand it might not be a right fit for you. Do you know anybody else that might be the right fit? Can you give me the information of who else to talk to, or any of your, where most people again naturally think referral, hey, I sold something someone's passed to me. A no can turn into a referral as well, because at that point they already said no. They're not gonna say no in all caps, I guess, on that. So like, they could already said no, so like you could potentially get a sale out of it too.
Yeah, I love that. And I love picking the brains of people like you in these situations about just kind of your overall mindset and how you've done it. Because, obviously having a long, lengthy career with the same organization, there are times where there's ups and downs and we all deal with adversity and how we handle it in different ways. But I think your mindset, like you shared, especially in the sales world, controlling what you can control, not taking it personally, and even celebrating other successes. I think we've all been in spots where we're going through a slump and we see somebody else have success, and it's easy to be like, oh man, what the heck? Like, but as we've talked on in this podcast too, it's like comparison can be the thief of joy. And, taking that and you making that a negative emotion rather than just celebrating other successes, we can forget that, hey, that person probably dealt with some adversity too. This is a good moment for them. Let's just be happy and enjoy seeing them have this moment where they're experiencing some success. But at the same time, it's easier said than done. I've certainly had times where, hey, I need to go run to the driving range and smack some golf balls around to start
Correct.
feeling better about myself. So we all got to find those times and ways to kind of deal with that. But I think spending time to talk about and think about what is your mindset, what is my motive behind this emotion I'm feeling, especially in the sales world, like you've touched on, is really awesome to hit on here. So appreciate you sharing on that, Kyle. And kind of to wrap us up in some of your sports experience, I think one of my favorite questions is also asking about some of your mentors and people that have impacted you along the way. Because as we know, and as you touched on, the sports management world is still relatively new, but there are people that have come before us, kind of set a good foundation, allow us to do what we enjoy doing, and that's working in sports. So, who are some of the more impactful mentors in your career, Kyle, that have left a positive impact on you, that have helped you get to your career to where it's at today?
How much time do we have? I could list off like hundreds or thousands of people here. So,
We'll let him
um,
fly.
yeah, well, obviously I'll start with my parents. My parents obviously laid the foundation for everything and helped me success, set up for, those first jobs, those first whatever. And I think that really, again, when you become a parent, you just view these things so differently now. So really appreciating what they did, because I'm not with the Rays, I'm not with the Cardinals without them. So like I think it's been really cool. Like even like when I went to the Rays, like they were all in on the Rays when I was there, and then like Cardinals all in, and with the Blues all in, and all that kind of stuff. So just kind of having that support of my parents, my family's been pretty cool. So specific with the Rays, a lot of the full-time guys there that were just awesome to me. Tom Breslin, Mark Richmond, and Tim Burke are the three that like jump out to me. And I could name everybody, but those guys there, I've still stayed in contact. I was gone to people's weddings and stuff like that, and just developed a friendship with him. But they guided me, they gave me good advice, they gave me opportunities to succeed, and just like even just do some things that were different. Like I remember going with Tom, we would go to universities and just have tables, and it's like, okay, this is what a sales table looks like. This is just experience that you wouldn't even think about at the time and stuff like that. So with the Cardinals, geez, a lot of the full-time guys just treated me so well from the beginning there. Mike Lucchese, Brett Reeds, even people in other departments. Rex Carter was so good to us. Tom Perchamsky, I could go on and on. I feel bad I forget somebody. Like I can see where people struggle in this, and like awards when they get stuff. Like you're gonna forget somebody. Some done lines here. Um, and with the Blues, our VP of ticket sales, Nick Weircheck, was always treated me so well. He was my boss for 7 years. Jen Nevins, senior director of ticket and promotional sales, like she was the one that initially hired me, and it's like we're friends now. Like it's just like it's been so great. Jamie Sackman, my boss now, has been phenomenal as far as like showing me like, hey, this is the role. the learning curve along the way and everything that comes with it. So I've just been lucky to be around surrounded such great people everywhere I've been. Like it's really cool. It's really humbling just as far as just like I've been around such great people that I feel like want me to succeed and want me to do well. And I think it's been really, really cool to see those things. And, we talk about team performance that, that's whatever that can go all over the place, but like in just enjoying and being the people you're around with, like you can't put a price tag on that. So,
No doubt. And I love that. And you kind of think about the stops you've made along your career and you think of people and moments and lessons and conversations that they've kind of all left on you. And I think that's part of what makes, being a part of working in sports so awesome is that, there are, I'm sure, plenty more people that are out there as well, but you hit on a lot of people that have made a positive impact on you. And I think that says a lot about, the places you've been and the sports community as a whole that so many people are willing to give back. And I know you fit into that category as well, Kyle. So appreciate all of your insight that you've been
I'll come back.
sharing.
I'll come back for part two with another
Yeah.
list of people that I didn't thank on this one if they get mad at me. So,
Yeah. Well, hey, Victor and I, we are kind of starting to dip our toe and getting some recurring guests back on the
oh.
podcast with all the updates. So we can definitely make that happen as well for you, Kyle. So, but I think that wraps up a lot of the sports experience for this part of the podcast. And I'm going to transition it back over to Victor. He's going to get us started with our Flash Friday segment. We do this with all of our guests on the Front Office U Friday episodes. Get to know Kyle's personality a little bit better away from his desk and all his bobbleheads over there in St. Louis. So I'm going to toss it up to Victor and he'll get us going.
What a great transition, Ryan. You kind of set me up for my first question here, but being that you're a big bobbleheads guy, and it seems like, you talking that your wife obviously loves your baseball collection back at home. Who's your favorite bobblehead and why?
So any of the blues ones you see behind me, like my favorite ones are ones that I played a part in helping design or come up with the concept for. Let's see. I'll have to hop up there and grab one for you when they are up to but there's ones that I helped when I was selling Mizzou night, so that was obviously pretty cool because I went there. So we did one. You may grab them for you. Maybe like you want like a zoom in on them. So
Might as well. This
all
is
right,
like over and
all right.
beyond. Like that's the HR side of you. Just making
Yeah.
sure everyone's taken care of at the
So this was
max.
the one we did the
Look at that
so we did
close
the
up.
yeah, we did the Mizzou mascot. So Truman here wearing a Blues jersey, so that was kind of cool. And then like just seeing like there was only so many of them out here and stuff like that, so people really kind of went nuts for those. So yeah, and then there's other ones we've done where it's like played the fight song or it helped like hey a design of like this or that or like tweaks and stuff like that. So anyone that I've had a role in has been pretty cool. Baseball ones. My favorite ones, obviously, any ones I've worked for the team, like those are pretty cool, like the Rays ones and stuff like that. I've got a Manny Ramirez Rays one. So when the year I was with the Rays, Ramirez played 6, 7 games, not very many, and then he got suspended, and there was going to be a giveaway of him, and I won't go into all the details, but I ended up with one of those. So that one's kind of cool because we couldn't give it away. So and it was the year that I was there as well. Yeah, that one I think is pretty cool. I think one's neat now too. Like if I know somebody that's at a different team and they send me one or something like that too. So kind of like a story behind it as well of just like, hey, like I knew this person, they went to this team, they sent me this. So
Yeah, I think it's pretty incredible. I would say, I don't know about Ryan, but you're definitely the person that I would say has the most bobbleheads out of anyone I've met in my whole life. So that's got to be pretty sick as well to have there on your shoulder. But my next question here before I pass it to Ryan is obviously winning the Stanley Cup is something that Ryan and I always watch on TV, have never been a part of. Knock on wood, it happens to one of us where we can uh, have that opportunity happen. But just like walk us through like how that experience was, because like you said earlier on the podcast, like you're trying to build a team that can win the Stanley Cup, and obviously being part of one, like I mean, gosh, the Minnesota Wild at this point aren't going to ever win one, so it'd be nice to hear kind of on your side of how that experience was, obviously, and then just spending with family. I know how important that is for obviously people who work in sports.
yeah, I mean, at the time of the Blues, it'd been 50 whatever years without winning a cup. So like it was pretty cool. I had a whole season. You guys are hockey guys, but like the team wasn't playing the way it was. It was last place on January 4th or whatever it was, and just go on this crazy run where it's like we get in the playoffs. That's almost playing like with house money. I remember thinking that's from a sales perspective, and management was like, "Hey, we made it to the playoffs. This is a good story to go into the offseason and sell. Like we have this positive momentum." And it's just like, it kept going and going and going. And the round two game against Dallas, that's a game seven game. It goes to double overtime and Maroon scores the goal. But like Jamie Benn just misses a goal in like the first overtime. Like Bennington makes this crazy save that like hits off the post and everything. But like that's so close to showing how close this whole season and summer everything changes. But like it's the fastest 2.5 months of my life, but also like the slowest two. Like I was so tired. I had this gross beard that just kept going. It was just like going, but it was so much fun looking back on it. Like everybody that works in sports deserves that opportunity. And I know it's not realistic. Everyone's going to get it, but like I got it for my hometown team for the first championship in team history. Like it was really cool. It's really awesome. Like it's something that I'll never forget. But with my family, like whether they were coming to games, whether it was watching games with them or the parade, like I mean, I remember the parade, like we're going down the street, my parents, my brothers, they had balloons that spelled Kyle, like along the side there. So like it was pretty cool. Like, and I wish looking back on it, like if anyone that wins a championship, walk as slow as you can in the parade. Go slow. If you think you're going slow, go slower. Like just enjoy the whole thing, the whole moment. It's not a race. It's going to end. But it was just so much fun. Like, and then from a business standpoint, we sold so many tickets. We were able to do all these different things. But like, it was an exhausting summer. Like, it was so like we're we're playing till middle of June, and then like the schedule comes out a month later, and it's like time to go again. So, but it was so much fun. The ride of it, I think the ups and downs of it, just having something you have zero control of, it's just so cool. Of a team like being with winning a championship is just really, really pretty awesome. So. I don't know.
Yeah,
I can't
man.
even put words in like I would love to, now I mentioned my son a couple times, but be able to, go through it again with where he can experience or be part of it too. Like, he's too big to like put in the cup now, but like, and just see how much it meant to so many people. There were so many people that have been here long. We have a handful of people that have worked here over 30 years. So like seeing how much it meant to all of them, and like the organization did a really good job of like, hey, the cup's here today from this time to this time. Bring your family and friends and get pictures with the cup and stuff like that. And like you schedule time. So like, they did a really good job of making it feel like, hey, this is everybody and everything. Like it was played a part of it. And I obviously like getting a ring and watching the banner go up and like all these things are it's just like so cool. And it really hit me like, there's people like you guys that grew up hockey fans and like dreamed of winning the Stanley Cup. Like for me, the idea of winning a Stanley Cup for me didn't happen until I started working here. Like you would dream of winning a World Series or anything like that. But just thinking of the people that like how much it meant for someone that had literally dreamed about this their whole life. So
Great, great answer. I like how you went in depth too on like the parade. I like walk slow. Like this is the one time where you want to get all of them steps in there and maybe take a little detour, go behind, walk backwards and see that.
yeah.
And I think it's pretty incredible. Like I said, I think Ryan and I can agree that it can't happen to a better person like yourself and this the whole Blues organization with what they started with essentially not even going to make the playoffs and then had that crazy push where I was like, holy cow, like it's gonna happen. And so I'll pass it to Ryan here to ask his, but
Well, I'll
what
add one more thing to it. One of the guys I worked with the Rays, Keith, he works with the Boston Bruins, and we'd always talked about like, hey, it'd be really cool to like be in a Stanley Cup. And we got there and was like, oh crap, one of us is going to lose. And it goes to game seven. So like, and Keith is awesome. He might be the nicest guy in sports. Like he's so great. Like it was awesome seeing him throughout and like texting him and talking him and stuff like that. But just like knowing that we got to game seven, it's like we had the same season the Bruins had. We won game seven. They didn't. And just like from him, like I felt so bad for him, but like, he's so awesome. And like, he texted me, like, it was so cool kind of going through, but like at the end, like one of us is going to win, one of us is going to lose was kind of the bummer at the end of it. So
Yeah, that's cool. That little friendly competition as you get to know more people in the industry, and maybe a little bit better for you guys. You don't have to go battle for a puck in the corner head to head
correct.
against each other. We're just seeing how it all unfolds. Game seven, anything can happen. So love
Yep.
thinking and thinking back to some of those memories. That's so cool. Obviously, hopefully not a once in a lifetime experience. Hopefully the Blues can get back there, but I mean, you take what you can get, and I think that's awesome to reflect back on those memories and experiences. So my first question for Flash Friday, I'm going to take you back even further, Kyle, back to when you were at Mizzou as a student. What was your favorite or most frequented bar or restaurant or establishment? Where is somewhere in Mizzou that you would go most frequently when you were a student there?
So there was Shakespeare's Pizza might be like the famous one that's on there. It's right off campus. It's great. It's awesome. Like, when you go there football Friday or whatever, it's packed. I really liked Gumby's. Gumby's was my favorite spot. I think they're in other cities as well, but I really liked that one there. Um, there was Butcher's Burgers is really good. That's one of the more famous spots there. But so many good places there. So many, it's changed so much. I'm gonna sound like an old man now, but like when I go, like it's so different now. Like the downtown, like it's nice. It's so nice. Like there's all these new buildings and everything like that. I don't get back there as much as I can, but like when I go to games and stuff like that, it's been kind of cool. I've got to go speak at a couple things there, so that kind of the full circle moment on those is pretty cool too. So yeah, so those ones there, but yeah, it's one of those like I was there 2 years. I mean that those 2 years flew by. People go there for 4 years. It flies by. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's a good question there. So but yeah,
Yeah.
Gumby's is still my favorite. I try to hit that up whenever I can out there. So
Very cool. Yeah, maybe as you mentioned, your son already, those couple hours down I-70 feel a little bit longer now than maybe they used to. But I
right.
think there's a Gumby's in Iowa City as well. So it's kind of funny to hear that as
Yeah.
well, where I went to school at Iowa. So awesome. And then ask one question about the past. Let's talk about the future as well. So you mentioned you got your family now, but where is somewhere that you would want to travel to on a family vacation? I know it may seem crazy to say, but let's say you get a week off of work, you get to enjoy yourself, all expenses paid vacation, anywhere you want to go. Where is somewhere maybe that you haven't been yet in your life experiences? Where is somewhere that you would like to go that's high on your list for a family vacation?
Yeah, so I've been to 25 of 30 baseball stadiums, so I've got five to go. So there's ones in there that I think would be good. San Diego's a place I have not been, so that would be one. But really at this point, I probably need to take if I won this or something, I'd probably have to take my son and my wife to Disney. It would probably be where they would want to go, be a good dad, and take them there and let them enjoy that. But those be the kind of probably top place off the top of my head.
Yeah, very cool. Love those answers. Yeah, I can attest San Diego is definitely one of the top parks, but mostly it's just because you're in San Diego, if I'm being honest. Like
Correct.
that's
It's not
just a
going to
pretty
rain or
great
anything,
place.
so.
So anything you do there is gonna be fun. But Petco is definitely a good spot. So love those answers, and can't go wrong with a little Disney action, especially when you got a
Yeah.
young little rascal running around. It's always
Right.
fun to see that as well. So very cool. Well, this has been a ton of fun. I know Victor and I have really enjoyed this conversation. I'm sure we could talk for another hour, but we already got a tentative schedule for the follow-up Throwback Thursday pod with Kyle coming up. So for our listeners that have listened all the way through to this podcast, what would be the best way for them to get in contact with you, Kyle, if they have any follow-up questions of their own?
Yeah, hit me up on LinkedIn. That's the best way. I check it regularly. Happy to respond to messages and from there set up a call offline. Whether it be a phone call, Zoom call, whatever. Happy to do that too. So
Absolutely. We'll include the link to Kyle's LinkedIn here in the description of this podcast. We definitely encourage all of our listeners to be following up with Kyle. Obviously, he's someone that, as you mentioned on this podcast, sees a lot of resumes, has great advice, loves helping out the next generation of people working to work in the sports industry. And that's a big reason we started up this podcast was to help connect you with those people that are crushing it in the sports industry. And Kyle is obviously a great example of that. So we thank him for all of his insight on the podcast. Thanks to Victor for hosting this one with me. And of course, thanks to all the listeners for listening all the way through to this episode. And we'll be back again next Friday with a new Front Office U Friday episode. Take care, everybody.